Hello everyone, welcome to Zoho Sheet's webinar. In this video, we'll be talking about how you can clean and improve your spreadsheet's data quality using Zia inside Zoho Sheet. When you have data coming in from numerous sources or be it being entered by numerous colleagues inside your spreadsheet, the data is bound to have minor or major discrepancies or inconsistencies. Zoho Sheet already has a separate data cleaning option that you can use in order to get rid of all these discrepancies in your data. Apart from that, we are now bringing all of these AI functionalities in one place, that is inside Zia in Zoho Sheet. So Zia in Zoho Sheet already is known for providing insights about your data, such as recommended charts, pivot tables, and also answers for data related questions inside your spreadsheet. And now Zia will also include the data cleaning or data quality suggestions for your spreadsheet data as well. So this will be the agenda for the video. First, I'll give you a short introduction about what Zia is for those who are not familiar with what Zia is. And then we look at what Refined by Zia is, that is the data quality part of Zia. And finally, we'll see the demonstration of how you can clean and improve the data quality using Zia. So what is Zia? Zia is nothing but an artificial intelligence developed by Zoho. You can find Zia helping customers across various Zoho products such as Zoho Writer, Zoho CRM, Zoho Desk, etc. And inside Zoho Sheet, Zia has been helping you with insights about your data, such as recommended pivot tables, charts, or even answers for your data related questions inside your spreadsheet. And with our recent update, we had also merged or included the data quality suggestions inside Zia as well. So you can find the suggestions for data cleaning as well as data analysis inside Zia at one place. Refine is the term that we have given for the data quality part of Zia. So let's look at the aspects that Zia can help you find and rectify. So if you have any duplicate records or entries inside your spreadsheet, you can compare, find, and take action on them. And then if you have any missing values or blank cells inside your spreadsheet that are not intentional, you can find and fill them up using the desired values using Zia. And then if you have any inconsistent data entries inside your spreadsheet, be it with respect to spellings or with respect to capitalization or even spacing, you can find them and correct them using Zia as well. And finally, if you have any columns that have mismatched or multiple data types in the same column, Zia will give you the suggested list of these entries, so you can take a look at them and you can correct them. So this is a brief introduction about what Zia can do with respect to data cleaning or data quality in your spreadsheet. So let's look at the demonstration now, and I'll be showing you how you can use Zia in order to clean up your spreadsheet data and improve its quality as well. So this is the sample spreadsheet I'll be using for the demonstration. So as you can see, I have an example sales data here. So we have the order ID, the date, the sales representative names, we have the region where the sales happened, and then we have the item or the product names, and then we have the total units sold, the price per unit, and the total sales as well. This sample data is around 1,000 rows long. So now we'll get help from Zia in order to see how the data quality of this particular worksheet is and how we can make changes in order to improve the quality as well. So now, in order to get help from Zia, I'm just going to place my selection anywhere in the data set that I would like to analyze. And in the right bottom corner of the editor, you can find the Zia logo. So simply click on Zia. So by default, that will open up the Insights panel of Zia. So this Insights panel is the one that will help you with data analysis. So you can see the suggested charts and pivot tables already being shown in this panel. And you can also ask questions about your data and get answers as well in this particular panel. But before going with data analysis, make sure that your data is clean, especially when you have data coming in from numerous sources. So now, in order to look at the data cleaning suggestions provided by Zia, all you have to do is simply switch to the next tab, that is Refine. And here you can see the data quality suggestions provided by Zia. So you can see there are inconsistent data, there are missing values, duplicate records, as well as columns with multiple data types in this particular worksheet that I have. So now we'll be looking at each of these suggestions one by one, and we'll be also seeing how we can correct them using Zia as well. So before we get started, at the top of this panel, you can see the source range being displayed for you. So this source range was auto-detected by Zia, whereas if you want to edit this particular range, you can also do that using this option here, that is edit. So moving on to the suggestions for the chosen data set. So first up, we have inconsistent data. So Zia is showing that we have 4 inconsistent data in this particular data set. So inconsistent data can be with respect to spellings, or it can be with respect to capitalizations or even spacing. So this comparison will be made along with the other values that are present in the data and not with the dictionary. So in order to view all these inconsistent data and rectify them, you can simply click on this option. And here you can see a summary being shown on top. That is, we have 4 inconsistent values. And then you can see the column names being shown here. So these are the columns that are containing the inconsistent data in this particular worksheet. So we have the region column having 1 inconsistent data. And then we have the item column having 3 inconsistent data. Here under region, you can see that the inconsistency is with respect to capitalization, because there is no typo or spelling error, or there is no spacing present here. So you can see how the capitalization differs between these two variants that are being presented here. So now I'm going to leave this particular inconsistency as such, because I'll be showing how you can use another option in the duplicate records suggestion in order to view data with inconsistency as well. So now in order to do that, I'm just going to leave this as such, and I'm going to move to the next column, that is item. So under item, you can see that we have 2 suggestions being shown. The first one is for binder. So you can see how there's a small typo between the 2 variants. So you can see this is the variant that is having the typo. And for pen set, you can see that there are 3 different variants being shown. The first one is the correct one. The second one has a capitalization error, and the third one has a spacing error. So this way you can view each of these suggestions and analyze them, and you can also choose which of these variants you would like to make changes to and which you would like to retain as well. So you can see the checkboxes being shown alongside each of the variant as well as the suggested set or the cluster. So you can choose the specific values that you would like to make changes to in your data as well. So here on the right, you can see an edit field here, that is the replace value field. So this is the value that you can use in order to replace the discrepancies or the inconsistent data that you have in the selected data set. Here, as you can see, binder and pen set, both of these values are the correct values in this field. If you'd like to make any changes, you can do them here. Or if you feel the default values given are the right ones, you can straight away go ahead and click on the replace and group button. There we go. So now you can notice how the column item has been removed from here, because all of those inconsistent data in the item column have been replaced with the correct values. So this way, in a matter of seconds, you can get rid of inconsistent data that you have inside your spreadsheet. These inconsistencies in your data, though they may look minor, may cause various errors or discrepancies when you're analyzing the data later on as well. So make sure that you get rid of these inconsistencies, no matter how minor they are, with the help of Zia. So now let's take a look at the other suggestions. So up next, we have the missing values in the data set that we have. So we have 6 missing values as suggested by Zia in the chosen data. So these missing values are nothing but the unintentional blank cells that you can have in your data sometimes. So let's see how we can fill these missing values that we have in the data. So as mentioned already, we have 6 cells that are having missing values in the data set. And all these 6 missing values are present in one single column, that is region column. So you can see the region column being displayed here. And below that, you can see 3 different ways in which you can fill the missing values that are present in your data. So the first one is fill with previous value in the column. So if you'd like to fill those missing values or blank cells using the values in the previous cell, you can choose the first option. The second option is when you would like to give a custom value for those blank cells or missing values in the data. And the third option allows you to fill those missing values with the value that has the maximum occurrence in that particular column. So in this particular example, I'm going to choose the second option. That is, I'm going to fill those missing values with a custom value that I would like to give. So here, since it is the region column, I cannot give any region as the missing values for the blank cells. So I'm going to give the value here as unknown, so that while I'm doing the calculation or data analysis, this unknown value will be shown for me separately. So I'll know that these records are not having the specific region. So once I've given the value with which I would like to fill the missing values, I can go ahead and click on this button called fill values. There we go. So on the left, you can see the specific column being highlighted so that we'll know where the specific action is actually happening. So in this column, you can see how there is the unknown value is being shown here instead of the missing values or the blank cells that we had previously. So now let's move on to the other suggestions that Zia has provided for us. So the third data quality suggestion provided by Zia is about duplicate records. So here in this particular data, you can see that we have two duplicate records. So let's take a look at what they are and how we can get rid of. So here you can notice that all the column headers are being displayed in this particular field. So this is because by default, Zia will consider all the column headers in your data for comparison. Whereas if you'd like to detect those duplicate records only based on a few columns or any specific column, you can choose accordingly as well. So here for this example, I'm going to retain all the column headers. So I would like to detect duplicates based on the comparison between the values of all the column headers that I have. And on the left, you can see one duplicate record already being highlighted. So you can see the red color row here. There is the record being highlighted. So we have two duplicate records in this data set. So one is in row number 18 and the other duplicate record is in row number 86. So these are the two duplicate records that we currently have in this particular data set. So now below the column header field, you can see another drop down here called match type. So Zia allows you to detect duplicates based on three different match types. So the first one is exact, that is the default match type that will be taken by Zia. So exact is nothing but only when all the values exactly match with each other, the duplicate record will be taken into account. And the second option here is similar. That is, if there are any minor changes with respect to the capitalization or with respect to any special characters, those values will also be taken into consideration while detecting duplicates. And finally, there's an option called fuzzy. So if there are any slight difference even with respect to the pronunciation of certain values, those values will also be taken into consideration while detecting the duplicates. So this way you can choose which type of match you would like to perform while finding the duplicates in your data. So by default, Zia will take up the exact match type. So in the exact match type, we saw we had two duplicate records. So now I'm going to select the similar match type just to show you how the difference will be. So now I'm going to choose the similar match type. So those values that differ in capitalization or those that differ only in the process of certain special characters will also be taken into consideration. So once I choose similar, now in this particular data set, you can see that we have another duplicate record being highlighted here in row number 45. So here, just to make the comparison, you can see the original or the first occurrence of this particular record just on top, that is in row number 44. And you can see the duplicate record being highlighted in row number 45. So you can see that the only minor difference between these two records is in the capitalization of the region, that is east. So this is why I had actually left this inconsistency as such initially. So you can see how even if there is a minor inconsistency with respect to the capitalization, you can also use this particular match type that is similar in order to find those duplicate records as well. So once you have chosen the required match type for the duplicates that you would like to detect, next up you can see three different options being provided for further customization. So the first option indicates if your data set or the data table that you have has the first row as header. So this is checked by default because most of the data tables will have the first row as their header. But if your data is not having the first row as header, you can simply uncheck this particular option. And the second option is to include the first occurrence. So when it comes to duplicate records, you'll always have a first occurrence of the record followed by the duplicate records. So by default, only the duplicate records or entries will be highlighted and will be taken into account for any action that you perform. Whereas if you'd like to also include the first occurrence of those records or entries as well, you can simply check this particular option. So here, when I check this particular option, on the left you can see how the first occurrence of the particular record is also being highlighted. So those first occurrences or records will also be taken into account when I perform any action as well. So now I don't want to perform any action on the first occurrences, so I'm going to simply uncheck it. And finally, you can see an option to include the hidden rows that you have in your data as well. So when you're trying to find duplicate records in your data and you have any hidden rows, do not worry. You can simply use this particular option in order to take those hidden rows into account as well. And finally, we have 4 different actions that you can perform on the duplicate records that you have found. So the first action here is to delete the duplicate records that you have in your data. And then second, we have apply style. That is nothing but formatting styles that you can use in order to highlight those duplicate records for reference later on, or if you want to highlight them for filtering later on, you can do that as well. So you can see the text and color formats being shown here. So you can choose any of these formatting options. You can view a preview of them as well and apply them so that all those duplicate records will have that format. So you can have it for later reference or for filtering as well. And third, we have an option to move the duplicate records. So if you don't want to entirely get rid of them, whereas if you want them for later reference or just for cross-checking, at the same time, if you don't want them to hinder your original data set during analysis, you can simply move these duplicate records to another cell range or worksheet in your spreadsheet as well. So in Move, you can see 2 different options being provided. You can either move these duplicate records to a new worksheet or to another cell range in the same worksheet as well. And finally, similar to the Move option, if you'd like to make a copy of these duplicate entries in another location in the same file, you can do that. And this option, that is copy, will retain these duplicate entries or records in the original data set as well. So now, from these 4 actions, I'm going to perform the delete action. That is, I'm going to get rid of these duplicate entries from my data set. So for that, I can simply click on the delete button here. There we go. So you can see how the duplicate record that was previously shown on the left is no more being shown because that record has been deleted. So you can see how getting rid of the duplicate records or entries in your data set is very easy and simple with the help of Zia here. Now let's move on to the final suggestion that we had in the panel, that is with multiple data types. So here you can notice how each of the suggestion is being removed as and when we are making changes to them and rectifying those given suggestions. The final suggestion we have from Zia is that one column in this particular data set contains multiple data types. So let's look at what this suggestion is actually about and what we can do about it. So here we can see that the column that this suggestion is talking about is the order ID column. So you can see the respective column being highlighted on the left as well. And here you can see a small pop-up being displayed that the range contains 2 different types of data. So let's take a look at what those data types are and what we can do about it. So here you can see the whole list of values from the column being displayed in this particular panel. And you can see the frequency of those values on the right as well. And here you can see a small filter icon. So once I click on that filter icon, you can see the various data types that are present in this particular column of values. So here in this particular column, you can see there are 2 different data types, that is number and text. So this is what Zia is telling us about. In this order ID column, the intended data type is number, because you can see that most of the values here are number and the order ID is actually supposed to be number for this particular sales report. Whereas you can see that we have some accidental text values also being present in this particular column. So let's take a look at what those values are and how we can correct them. So in order to filter those text values, I'm just going to uncheck the number data type here. So now you can see how there are 3 values being displayed. So these are the 3 values that are considered or are taken as text in that particular column. So now we'll see one by one why they are taken as text and how we can correct them. So first up, you can see a value called 2051. So this is a very common typo that most of us will perform at some point when we are especially typing fast. So here instead of 0, you can see how there's an O present in this particular value, and that is why it is being taken as text. So now I'm just going to replace this particular O with 0 and click on enter. So we have corrected one value. So moving on to the next one. So here you can see that there's an exclamatory mark at the end. So the presence of a special character is making this value to be considered as a text. Again, this is a typo. So we have exclamatory mark instead of 1. So I'm just going to replace it with 1 and click on enter. There we go. And the final value here, you can see there's an extra A that is present at the end of the value. So this is also a very common typo, especially when we are entering data at a fast pace. We might enter some unwanted characters inside the cell as well. So now I'm just going to get rid of the letter and click on enter, and there we go. So now under this filter icon, you can see that there's only one data type present, that is number, and that is the intended data type as well. So this way you can get rid of any column that contains multiple data types. These multiple data types will cause error when you're actually analyzing them, be it when you're drawing a pivot table or when you're using formulas or even visualizing using charts. When you have multiple data types, that's bound to cause errors during analysis. So now when we look at the main refine panel, you can see that we have rectified all the suggestions or the discrepancies that were suggested by Zia. So now we have cleaned the data in this particular worksheet, and we have improved the quality of it as well. So once you're done with the data cleaning part in Zia, you can simply switch over to the Insights panel in Zia, and you can get started with the analysis part right away. So you can simply drag and drop these charts or pivot tables inside your spreadsheet and create reports in seconds. Or if you have any questions that you would like to ask about your data, you can enter these questions here in this Ask Zia field, and you can get answers for those questions as well. So this is how you can clean and improve your spreadsheet data using Zia in Zoho Sheet. So in today's video, we saw how you can use the various data quality suggestions from Zia in order to clean and improve your spreadsheet data quality. If you have any questions or feedback about Zia in Zoho Sheet or any other feature in Zoho Sheet, you can write to us at support@zohosheet.com, and we'll be here happy to help you out. And if you have any feedback about this video, you can drop them as comments below. Hope you all found this video helpful. Do try out Zia in Zoho Sheet for data cleaning as well as data analysis, and give us your feedback. If you'd like to know more about the other features in Zoho Sheet, you can also take a look at our recorded webinar videos link that is given in the description. You can find webinar videos that talk about charts, pivot tables, custom functions, and a lot more other features that are provided by Zoho Sheet. See you all in the next video. Thank you.